Welcome back to part two. Where do you see Calla and Nissy, Ozzy? Calla and Nissy, where do you see them in boxing at the moment? Because they're getting a bit of stick online, aren't they?
Quite right. You know, I think I said to him on the asylum, basically said they're like a couple of cartoon characters. You know, what I don't understand what they're doing. You know, that they're messing around with this. You know, this YouTuber stuff now. They've got this link up with DAZN and they're involved with that through Wasserman and basically putting on, you know, advertising them as proper boxing shows at, you know, good arenas with just just no marks on the cards, you know, these YouTubers. And it's embarrassing, you know, they had a brilliant concept with the World Boxing Super Series. And I'd say that all that good work has just been completely undone. They had Maris Bradis on their books and had him dressing up as Super Mario, chasing Jake Paul around the country, you know. Absolutely embarrassing, saying that they were going to make big offers to Lawrence Okoli for a big unification fight. They never came through. I just haven't got a clue what they're doing. They did a show up my way at Bolton, where Bolton Wanderers play a couple of weeks ago. The best fight on the card was one that they didn't make. It was made by the board, and that was Gavin Gwynn against Craig Woodruff. They initially wanted that on the undercard and to headline with Lyndon Arthur in an 8-rounder. And it's only when people next to him said, basically, what are you playing at? This British title fight is the goods and could be fantastic. That needs to headline. They changed the tune. And what was it? A proper domestic fight, which a lot of people want to see the rematch in. It's frustrating because, you know, for all the stick Mick Hennessy gets, last year, I think he had 2 Fight of the Year contenders, if not Fight of the Year contenders on Channel 5. I think it was Sam Eggington was in one, and I think Shakan Pitters was in another. So, you know, regardless of what you think of Mick, the budgets he had and the dates he had, he always put on decent value for money. Wasserman, on the other hand, have got these dates, and they're truly embarrassing. And if I'm Channel 5, I'm looking at it thinking, what have we done here? You know, Hennessy, we had a nice little thing with us there. You know, he had a small stable, but he was getting people out there. He was active. Wasn't going to big fancy arenas, you know, 3,000 or 4,000, but they were relatively full and they were good competitive fights. Wasserman, it's like they've just got it just as a bit of a hobby more than anything, rather than actually taking it serious. They're an embarrassment.
Do you feel that it's all now about the money for these promoters and not growing the sport and growing fans?
Well, ultimately, yeah. I mean, if you're in, you know, particularly at the big levels, if you're in it not to make money, what are you doing? You must hate the sight of cash if you just want to bleed money on it. The smaller hole ones, I think they're very much in it to develop boxers. And, you know, people like Steve Wood, Carl Greaves will take financial hits to build fighters in the hope that they can recoup some funds later down the line. And they'll do that regularly. You know, they will make losses on shows. You know, Carl Greaves just did a good show at Leicester Arena for a small hall card. Good arena as well. You know, BT have been there and headline with Tommy Langford. You know, decent. Barry McGuigan went there. He when that Cyclone had a Channel 5 deal, had Joe Hughes there against Anthony Yidgett. So, you know, some decent sized promoters have been there. And Carl Greaves has gone there with no TV backing and backed himself to pretty much sell it out. Now, I think it sold relatively well. I don't know if he turned a profit on it, but he said it was financially difficult. And it is, because ultimately, you know, you are reliant on people selling tickets to bump up the pot for the fights, unless you've got a big backer who's going, don't worry about it, I'll foot the bill. But they're few and far between. So small or wise, I think they've got to be here to stay. They allow lads to grow and build a platform and can be matched sensibly. But up at the top, I think a lot of them are just in it for the cash now. You know, don't care what they put on. If TV give them a budget of 100,000 for a show, for example, they'll try and turn a show at, 60 or 70 grand, the 30K in the green already. Tickets will get sold and they'll walk away with a handsome profit.
Yeah. What do you think to Maxie Hughes?
Well, a bit of a Cinderella story, isn't it? You know, fair play to him. I'm a big believer that, records are for DJs. Chisora can prove that. Doesn't matter, the amount of losses as such. It's how you get beat. If you're going to go out there and you get chinned every time and, you roll over and you look, you look for a way out, people don't want to watch you. But, Maxie Hughes seems a million miles ago that, when, he got beat off Liam Walsh. Good fighter, by the way, Liam Walsh. Really shame that he's not continued to box. But Sam Bowen, another good fighter, but Hughes was knocked out. Martin J. Ward beat him. He's actually only lost to pretty decent fighters, to be fair to him. Got beat for Scott Cardle, for area titles. And what he did is he took an opportunity because he was kind of forced into a corner. He took an opportunity against John O'Carroll and he battered him. Absolutely battered John O'Carroll. I think it was on one of those MTK shows. And, MTK, for all the criticism they get away from, the way they're propped up, I actually thought they were good for boxing in terms of, look, it doesn't affect me where the money comes from. But if they're bringing money in and improving fighters, paying them well and doing a good, giving people opportunities, yeah, I get it comes from, dodgy backgrounds, but people need to open their eyes. A lot of money in boxing doesn't come from legit measures. It comes from everywhere. But yeah, Hughes has just proven that, you take an opportunity, you get a win, you get another one. He's undefeated now, I think, in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fights from 2020. One of them was against Chris Pilkington, yeah. But then after that, his run from John O'Carroll is John O'Carroll, Victor Kochikov, Paul Highland Jr., Giovanni Straffon, who knocked out James Tennyson, by the way, in a big upset, Ryan Walsh, which I think, was a fight that was good for Maxie Hughes. And then he beat Kid Galahad. I thought Galahad won, but I thought it was a close fight. I'm not going to argue either way, to be honest.
Do you think Bellew's commentary were harsh on Galahad?
Garbage. It was corrupt, really. I thought the DAZN commentary was poor for the fight, actually. I thought they went in with a mentality of wanting Hughes to win rather than just calling the fight it was. And
I thought it could have gone either way, but I'm glad Maxie won. But I thought Galahad, they didn't do him any favours from Punditry.
You don't. And do you know what's frustrating with commentary is people aren't thick. We've all got eyes. We can see what we're watching. Stop trying to tell us what we want to see and just call the fight as it is. Yeah. I get you're going to have a narrative as such in a sense of,
they pay your wages.
X is that, yeah, we need to back the home fighter. But at times it's embarrassing. And this is across all platforms, by the way, not just DAZN. It happens on BT, Sky, and it's happened for years. And I'm watching it thinking, am I really calling this fight wrong? Am I watching it and I'm just completely misunderstanding? And then I look online and see, no, actually everybody else is seeing it. And the narrative from the commentary is just trying to sway it. I thought the commentary was poor. I thought they were firmly in the Maxie Hughes camp. For Galahad, it's a very damaging defeat, really damaging defeat. I think a lot of people expected him not to walk through Hughes because he's not that sort of fighter, but comfortably outbox him. He looked a bit gun shy. But the one thing he has got going for him is that he's jumped up quite a bit of weight as Galahad. I think he's gone up, from, what was it? I think he's gone up quite a few pounds from what he was at featherweight. He's gone missed super feather, gone up to lightweight.
He's got £9 he's gone, hasn't he?
Yeah, and with the smaller weights, that's a hell of a lot, that. Yeah, it's not like, a cruiserweight chucking on £9 or anything like that. That's a lot at the smaller weights. But he's coming off 2 losses. Now, I'm not saying, he needs to retire because he doesn't. He's lost 3 fights. One of them was against Josh Warrington, which many people thought he won. He got comprehensively beaten off Kiko Martinez in the way he was stopped, but he was winning the fight. And then Hughes was a coin flip in my eyes, but he needs to, for me, I would go back down. I'd go down to 130 and go to super feather, because if you're struggling with Maxie Hughes, and I'm not slagging Maxie Hughes off in a sense of, he's a bad fighter, because he's not. But if you're struggling there, you're not going to go and beat one of the big boys at lightweight. I think he needs to go down to 130, and super featherweight is an open division, and Galahad could get opportunities there. But now his issue is he doesn't sell any tickets. He's got a style which is terrible to watch. It's boring, doesn't put bums on seats. He's going to have to take an opportunity now to go in the away corner and basically do a Maxie Hughes, really. Yeah. Try and get a win, then get another win and build back that way.
Otherwise, he's just known as a trade fighter. Maxie Hughes has shook that trade fighter tag off now, hasn't he?
Big time, yeah. Big time, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, Maxie, he deserves a big...
Pardon?
Yeah, Hughes deserves a big payday now. I said it on Sunday's podcast. He deserves that big payday now. Shakur Stevenson's coming up to lightweight. If he doesn't have a world title shot first up, and he wants like a feel out fight at 135, I think Hughes is the perfect opponent for it. I think Stevenson will beat him, but I think Hughes will come in and have a go, and that will give Maxie a massive payday that he deserves. Because look, he's not going to be fighting any of the world champions next, and I think he's owed the big payday rather than keep chucking him in these 50-50.
Well, give him £1 million now, only $1 million, hasn't he? To go
well, but if he loses, though, he'll be back on scrap heap. They won't build it. If he loses against, like, say if he'd have lost against Galahad, he'd have been on scrap heap now. Yeah. So get him that big payday against, like a Ryan Garcia, a Shakur Stevenson. But if he loses to them, he can comfortably come back, because that is, as good as, like top level, world level type of stuff. You get beat there. There's no shame in that. You can come back down. If he loses one of these, just good trade fights, and he gets beat and, outboxed, he can say bye-bye to any big fight. So he deserves that big fight next. For me, it needs to happen. I'm not saying Hearn owes it him, because he has given him opportunities, but Hearn should be doing everything now to work with any promoter to get Hughes on the road. They're not going to have the money to bring over like a Tank Davis, Haney's tied up, a Lomachenko, but send him over to America to fight Stevenson or Garcia, get him that big payday. And he might well retire. He might want to box on, but he can look back and say, what a good career I've had. And if you'd have said that 2 years ago, that he could, he's got a world title, it's an IBO one, so it doesn't count, but he could be fighting, the likes of, in line to fight Gervonta Davis, Shakur Stevenson, you'd have laughed and said, what you smoking? Can I have a bit of it? Because it would have just been a complete laughing stock. But he's just proven again, you get on a good run of wins and, like the world's your oyster. Yeah,
he's done really well, and he's got to be given credit to his training team, hasn't they?
Mate, yeah, Sean O'Hagan, he might not look the part, big bloke, but bloody hell, what a job he's done with Maxie Hughes. And I think a couple of others behind the scenes have done some good work with Maxie Hughes as well. Nick Manners, yeah. So, yeah, they deserve credit as well. Not just, O'Hagan's done a fantastic job, but it's important to recognise other people behind the scenes who, again, aren't always in front of the camera and are relatively unknown to a lot of people in boxing.
Yeah, he's all right, that Sean O'Hagan. When he's not.
Yeah, he comes across well done. He's a proper, he's your old school boxing bloke, isn't he? He's not, he's your working man type of stuff. None of these, like fancy trainers now who want the limelight. He's old school, and I like that about him. Says it as it is, my sort of person.
You don't see Sean O'Hagan putting out every time he's had a win, putting pictures out and all this on social media.
No, do you? No way.
You don't see, he's not like that. His lad either, is he? Josh, Warrington.
No.
All right. What did you make at Terry Harper? Is it a record? She's gone. Is it from feather? Recent years from feather to light middle.
This is more about not the state of it, but the depth of women's boxing, in the fact that I thought she boxed well, Terry. I thought she looked pretty good at the weight. She looked healthy. But can you imagine, somebody, like a featherweight, super featherweight world champion going up to 154 and winning a world title within 2 fights? It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It'd be like, for example, Shakur Stevenson going up at 154. Yeah, beating a Charlo. That is not, mate, Charlo would kill him.
Yeah, I was saying, if that happened and Shakur Stevenson beat Charlo for 2 belts and he unified, or whatever they call it, for 2 belts, and be a unified champ, people would be knighting him, wouldn't they?
Exactly, yeah. But it's not that. Look, it's rare. It rarely happens, and when it does, it doesn't end well. You saw it with Brook Golovkin. He went up 2 weights and he ended up badly hurt. But the women's division allows you to do this. You can float around the weights and go and win belts. And look, they saw an opportunity. I think I thought Hannah Rankin was the weakest world champion available. Being honest, I don't think Tasha Jonas is a 154 either, by the way. But she saw an opportunity and went up there, and it's allowed her to do that, to become a world champion. But I don't think Hannah is, she was a weak world champion. I thought I didn't think she boxed well. She didn't utilise her obvious size advantage. She should have got on Harper's chest. And we've seen Harper tire, down the line previously. That might be owed to the weight, but Rankin did none of that. She did have bits of success, but ultimately Terry was just too smart, too quick.
Did a surgeon job on her, didn't she?
Yeah. She beat her up, really. Beat her up. And look, I don't know what she's going to do next. They'll get a random defense. Jonas is unifying. That's just been announced. Again, I've never heard of the opponent. And that's the problem, you just haven't heard of a lot of these fighters. But yeah, look, on paper, and it's a fact, she is now a 2-weight, 2-time world champion. All credit to her. And she's got the ability to come back down as well to 147, 140. 135 realistically, if she campaigns at 154 for long enough, is probably out the equation. But her taking off £7 to go to 147 is completely realistic. And there's good fights available as well,
What about her putting £6 on a fight in Savannah?
Well, that's the scary thing. Can you imagine, Savannah could probably come down to 154 really. But can you imagine that? That will be, you would see a sheer size difference then, big time, because she's a big girl. I don't mean like fat, but she's tall, and she's well built. She'd obliterate Harper, and there's weight divisions for a reason, but they've spotted an opportunity. There's a reason they went after Hannah Rankin, and it's paid off for them. She's back at world level, and they'll continue to wheel her out and get paydays. But I thought she boxed well, and I know she had a fight after getting, that was a bad knockout against Baumgardner. She had that fight at lightweight, but I thought she looked good for the extra weight on her. And, like I said, Rankin's limited, but you have got to give Harper credit. I'm not a massive lover of women's boxing, but overall, yeah, you've got to applaud a good performance, regardless of the sex. And she boxed well. Boxed
very good. She did a surgeon job. What about the whisper doing the rounds that Joe G and Natasha Jonas are not going to do a undisputed with Harper on any time?
Money talks. And if DAZN or Sky want that fight to happen, it's going to happen ultimately, because money talks. Now Gallagher might be saying that in the moment, and ultimately they've got to go and beat this Marie Decaire. They've got to go and beat her. Like I said, never heard of her, never seen anything of her. I'm just looking at her record now. She lost to Clarissa Shields, shot. But it wasn't really, around those weights. She didn't win a round. She's going to, it's not going to, gun to my head, I'd probably pick Jonas on the basis that I've seen more of Jonas. And, I'd expect Jonas to win a couple of rounds off Shields as such. But, she's not getting any younger, Jonas. She's 38. If she wins here, and then next year that Harper fight for all the marbles is on the line, there's no way they're not taking that unless they get a bigger offer to fight like a Shields or something. But I'm not saying it's massive money. We're talking like millions, but it'll pay quite well. And ultimately it'll be a chance to be, unified. Undisputed, sorry, at 154.
6 belts that line, Harper Jonas, won't there?
Yeah, so yeah, look, it's money talks. They can say it now, but if they come through that and Harper's still a world champion, they're going to be going for it. Absolutely.
Bull said this rematch with Jonas will happen when I say so. That them words could haunt him, couldn't they, though, if it goes the other way?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And look, I thought Jonas beat Harper at Super Feather. I thought Jonas did enough to win. I thought Harper was fortunate at the fight camp stuff. But yeah, money talks, mate, with everything. You can say what you want, but if an offer comes in and you deem it as you can't turn that down because it's financially excellent, we know the fight's going to happen.
Adam Smith's come out. I've sent you the link. Give his opinion on Hatton versus Barrera. A week after Guy Fawkes nights for a second week of fireworks. Have you seen it, that thing? What is he on? A cacophony of fireworks.
He loves the narrative, doesn't he? He loves that sort of stuff. It's garbage for me. I'm just not interested. I get Mayweather's doing it, but he's going out to like Japan and China and stuff and getting paid like $15 million to fight these random Japanese kickboxers or Muay Thai fighters and knocking them out, and then they want him back to do a job on next one. Why is he doing this? What's the point? You know, like, it's completely unnecessary, and Sky should not be advocating this at all.
They're putting it on,
now. Well, yeah, they're showing it.
Yeah, they're showing it. It's crazy, isn't it?
That's what I mean. It's on the back of the Jonas Decare show.
That's on the undercard, isn't it?
No, it's after it. So once it's finished, then Hatton will basically. So yeah, you can argue, yeah, Hatton's the last fight on the telly, and they're showing that.
Going there to watch Hatton, aren't they?
Well, they hope so. I think it bombed last time because no one really cares, and you know, it's an exhibition, it's a move around. Don't do it. It's pointless. It's, you know, we're seeing it crop up more and more often, though, and you're not telling me he needs money, Ricky Hatton, and he doesn't need to put any demons to bed and put the gloves on one last time. He tried that when he made a comeback, and it backfired on him. So why are you doing it now? I've no opinion on it, but you know what Bean's like? He's the ultimate selling machine, and he'll love this, and he'll be in his element fight week.
He'll be going on about Mayweather, Pacquiao, and
I know,
Carlos Massa and all that.
That's what it'll be next. Floyd Mayweather's having exhibitions. Ricky, would you have a rematch with him if you come through? You know, this exhibition. That's what it'll be.
Where would you have an exhibition if they did that? Where are we at?
We just don't need to see stuff like that. It's boring. It's not interesting. We won't be giving it any airtime on the podcast. Well, I certainly won't be, or it'll be an opinion of, I don't care. Let's move on. Yeah.
4 more days, Ozzy, till fight week. Ben Eubank.
Yeah.
I got to this, Ozzy.
Oh no! Well, ultimately, you know, it's the names that have made this fight happen. If this was, you know, say Liam Smith against Jack Catterall, you know, in terms of one fighter coming up a weight to box another, no one would care. No one would be interested. This is solely the two names of Ben and Eubank that have made this fight happen. It's not a fight I agree with. I don't understand it from a sense of the way they've protected Conor Benn and they've manoeuvred him through, you know, the initially 140 and then 147 divisions, you know, boxing, faded fighters, you know, non-punchers, very specific people, to then go, you're going to go up to basically middleweight as well. Yeah, middleweight, put on like, what is it, like 157, something like that. You're going to go up to middleweight to fight Chris Eubank Jr. Now, yeah, it's a massive, massive payday. But this is where I'm going to look. And they'll say, of course, they're going to say, you know, Team Ben and Hearn, we believe he can win. Well, I'd be a bit disappointed if you come out, you're going to make this fight and go, Conor doesn't stand a chance against this guy. He's too small. What are we doing? This is where I think that money has taken over and they're all seeing the big payday. Eubank Jr.'s got no respect for it. He's still out eating burgers, chips, cake. I mean, people blow it out of proportion. He'll be burning about 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day. So what he's putting in his body, he's kind of replenishing and putting in less. So I'm less worried about the weight. I will laugh if he misses it, though. Yeah. And he's been doing all this and then he bombs the weight. But I think it's a terrible fight. You know, will I watch it? Yeah, probably. But I think I don't know what it will take for these things not to happen. Imagine Ben ends up with a brutal injury, you know, never boxes again because he's gone up in this or something like that. You know, I think they're trying to boil Eubank Jr. down to an unrealistic weight. I question the board about the rehydration clause. If it's what it says it is, it's less than the IBF one, which I think is now £12, not 10. So what is it? 7. So you're saying to Eubank Jr. Well, I'm sorry. That is basically saying to Eubank Jr. You can barely drink and you can't eat until after you've weighed in the morning. How is that healthy? That is not healthy at all. You know, he'll be. Look, I've always felt he's never been a big middleweight as it is, so I think he'll make the weight relatively. I won't say comfortably. It'll be difficult, but I think he knows he can make it. But then to say you can barely drink and eat, he'll have to watch everything that goes into him, you know, in terms of food, liquid, because ultimately when you're making weight, you're dehydrating yourself. Yeah. Now, we can't do that. What time they're weighing in the morning? Say it's 11 o'clock. You're waiting until basically lunchtime then before you can eat, drink. You're fighting potentially, 10 hours later? So, like, I'm very surprised the board are allowing that, you know, with all the eyes on boxing, you know, from where Scott Gar died. You know, other fighters have died, and we're doing this. So it's it's a bit of like, it's like something you'd see on a soap, basically. You know, this random.
Well, that's
thing
what they want, isn't it? Aaron turns everything into a drama, doesn't he? Like they did.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Look, I don't think there's the massive, but I think there's a buzz around it. But I don't think there's a huge buzz around it. And I owe that to the platform. I think there's a bit of talk, but I don't think it's massive. It's certainly going to hype up, you know, as we get into fight week. I think the two dads are going to appear and going to do a bit of stuff as well. But again, you're relying on two old men to sell this fight. If it's that good, the two kids can do it. And I get you tapping into, you know, all the resources of like, you know, if I've got something that can boost sales, I'm going to use it. But I think we'll only really see the big stuff when the two dads appear, and people will be watching it to see Senior and Nigel Benn because of the you know, the
in the corner,
the history they've got, and the, you know, the rivalry that they've got. In terms of fight night and a result, I think Eubank Jr. knocks him out. I think Ben might look flashy early on, you know, a bit quick, but you know, I think that plays into Eubank's hands. Ben has not got the ability to box 12 rounds. You look at the defeats that Eubank Jr.'s had. Eubank Jr. He has lost to lads that can box. George Groves outclassed him, completely outclassed him. And it was pretty simple. It was on a jab. You know, I thought the cards were awful that night. Far wider I had it to George Groves and Billy Joe Saunders. Saunders did tire in the second half of the fight, and, you know, his footwork slowed down, and that brought Eubank into it, you know, because he was against a static target. The wins that Eubank has gotten has looked good in, it's because the big lumps and stand there. So, you know, like Liam Williams bombed the weight completely. Terrible weight cut. But Williams likes a tear up, which plays into Eubank's hands. Spike O'Sullivan, you know, loves a tear up, plays into Eubank's hands. JJ McDonough was a farce. De Gale had lost that slick style that he had and was more static, played into Eubank's hands. Marcus Morrison, again, quite limited, but again, was always there. Didn't have, you know, the nous to outbox him. So Ben, you've seen it. He loves a tear up. And I think that's just going to play into it because, you know, it's all right sparring in gyms, you know, against the likes of, you know, John Ryder, Felix Cash, but you're in big gloves and you've got big guards on. You're coming down now and they're going to be, 10-ounce gloves. It's going to be a bit different when a bloke who's naturally a lot bigger than you clocks you. And look, he's not a destructive puncher, Eubank, but he hits hard enough. And I think Ben, you know, his power, he's beat the likes of Algieri, Van Eerden, you know, he should be knocking these people out. But then go a bit further down, you know, like Formella, he threw the kitchen sink at Formella, didn't really budge him. Granados, again, threw the kitchen sink at him, barely, you know, didn't really budge him as such. I don't think his power is what it's made up to be. I think he hits, he's got a dig, but I don't think he's nowhere near enough to do any sort of damage to Eubank. And I think Ben, unless Sims throws a towel in, we might well see, you know, a bit of a highlight knockout for Eubank. And I think Ben will be able to come back in a sense that, we tried it, you know, big fight. We'll come back down.
Wins, Rodders and all that.
Yeah. But for me, there's only one winner in this, and it's Eubank Jr.
What about Eddie's cut at cake? He'll do all right hard.
Well, it's why he's doing it. It's why he's doing it. It's money. It's money. I don't know why they're doing it. Are they seeing it that, you know, I think they've made dough off Ben already as such. Are they trying to cash him out now to make the investment back? I don't know. I just find it really odd the way they've carefully matched him so much, and then they just chuck him. It's like, you know, a pig to slaughter. You know, we're just chucking him in, you know, like that. It makes, you know, he might sit there and say, you know, look at the financial payday. Yeah, but you made all that effort to guide him through to chuck him in against, you know, a middleweight, a guy who's boxed at 168, by the way, and didn't look small at 168. And you're just doing it, essentially because they've got two famous parents who had a big rivalry back in the day.
Madness. Well, that's fight week's Monday it starts. So if you want to get bored to death, don't put IFL on. Coogan deleting the Jake Paul video, you know, where he came out and he said them legal words.
Oh, yeah.
He's deleted video on IFL. What do you think to that?
But it needs to happen, mate. Ultimately, if legal proceedings are being thrown around, that sort of stuff, basically, yeah, you've got to do it. It's not on IFL that the legal side of things hasn't been pulled up against them. They just gave it a platform. It's not as if they're not the views of IFL. It was evident. It was clear it was Jake Paul. They've put it up there, and it's backfired on Paul. So not going to go in on IFL. They gave it a platform. They'll have to pull it down with legal proceedings. That'll be the first thing. Paul's probably said, take it down now. It's got serious. And Hearn's right. He has filed, to sue him for damages. There's no way he's not going to get 100 million. Absolutely no chance. But what option did Hearn have to have? He's being accused of bribing judges. I'm not Hearn's biggest fan, but I'm not going to, slag him off for doing this, because ultimately, if Paul said this about Frank Warren, we all know Frank would be issuing legal letters as soon as he saw the interview. So, yeah, Hearn's well within his rights. It's the correct thing to do. Paul's just a bit of a loudmouth, and this time it's bit him on his backside, and he probably will have to pay some sort of damages.
Oh, work we had
it.
Oh, work we had it.
Well, yeah, all that, but I think that, I won't say it's done, but I think there's a long way to be.
You can imagine Eddie with £1 million check settlement out of court showing it on IFL, couldn't you?
Yeah, well, yeah. I honestly, I don't think that'll get brought up, to be honest. Yeah. I don't think we might see a resolution at the end of it if the legal side of things reveal it, but this will all tick on in the background now, and they won't say a right lot about it.
Johnny Fisher's dad running up the steps with no top on to Rocky music. What is going on? His son's 5-0, but he's on IFL more than Eddie.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And this is another one, where he's seeming like a bit of a
mini John Fury.
Cult hero. Yeah, that's right. I said it's like, when John Fury burst on the scene and everyone was like, oh, big John Fury, we love him, we want to see more of him. And it's the same with Johnny Fisher's dad, who I think he's called John Fisher, actually.
Big John Fisher is called
Big John Fisher, whipping up his, he's a fucking big bloke as well, but whipping off his top, running up those stairs,
Braless as well.
Head round like that. Yeah, exactly. Look, I don't know why, they do it for views these days, these YouTube outlets, and that's all it is. Like, I don't care. Like, why are they doing it? It's not funny. Ultimately, let's dumb it down. Fat man runs upstairs with entourage.
To Rocky music.
Exactly, yeah, and they've put it on in the background, so yeah. But that it is what it is that now, we're seeing a lot more of him. I've heard more from him than we have his son. And it's the son who's the one who's giving him the platform, basically, through boxing. If his son didn't box, no one would care what this guy thinks.
Max has been offered sparring off Mark Tibbs, hasn't he, to spar Johnny Fisher and Tommy Fletcher.
Yeah, well, that won't end well. That won't end well.
Max as a character. Let's finish off on the one and only TalkSports new recruit, the Gad. He's everywhere, isn't he?
Yeah, I know, yeah. I believe you liked his recent appearance by the sea, didn't you, when he painted his nails? I think you were into that, weren't you? I think you told me you were going to do the same because you were inspired by the Gad.
Inspired. Gee, what has happened, Ozzy? Where are they going with him?
I don't particularly like him as not as a person, because I don't know the guy, but I don't like him as a pundit / journalist. I think he's very, two-faced isn't the wrong word, isn't the right word, but he was on TalkSport slagging off, the fight going to Saudi Arabia, and now he doesn't believe in it. And then when the fight happened between Joshua and Usyk, who's bloody ringside? Gareth A. Davis. And I'm like, well, hang on, if your beliefs are that strong, you'll say, I don't believe in going to this country because of what they stand for. I won't go. But he's never going to do that, is he? He's never going to do that. And I listen to some things, and I listen to TalkSport all the time when I'm in the car. And annoyingly, he always seems to pop up. Every time of the day, he's always there. It's like a bad smell coming through the car. He's there every time. I listen to him, and odd times he makes a couple of decent points, but he's biased completely. He's very much in the, if a big name is there, he sucks up to him, that sort of stuff. And he is biased. He comes out with some stuff which is just absurd. He's obsessed with people like Ebony Bridges, and it's, I remember he did that video, and it's like he was foaming at the mouth watching her on camera. Yeah. I'm like, bloody hell! Like, remember what you are. And he's more like, no, I think he sees himself as a as a TV personality rather than what he actually is. As what he is a journalist, he's a writer that covers combat sports. So yeah, odd bloke. Like I said, I don't particularly rate him as, you know, his opinions, you know, that sort of stuff. I think there's better people available. I think there's better, more local writers who know more about the sport and can give better views than he does. But he's had that platform, he's took advantage of it. And sadly, he's here to stay, I think. You know, he's TalkSport's main man now with Adam Catterall, Nick Pete, Adi Oladipo, Spencer Oliver, and then you've got the guard who props everything up. So yeah, sadly, he's here to stay.
Jesus. And on that note, let's do a runner. Listen, Ozzy, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, enjoyed that, mate. Anytime.
Thanks for coming on, and we'll have you on again, Ozzy.
Yeah, no problem. Good man.
Have a good day, and sort your postman out.
Yeah, I will do.
Cheers,
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was Ozzy Smith. Enjoyed that with Ozzy. He can rattle on, but he speaks very clearly. And let's hope that Terry can unblock him. I think him and Terry had a bit of a fallout. So I'm bringing people together this year, aren't I? It's a year of forgiving and forgetting. Move on. If I could not slag Martin Theobald about his Transformers duvet, Ozzy and Terry could unblock each other on Twitter. I think that's about it. We are out of time. And I think I need to get a pair of jeans on, a nice t-shirt, and we'll see me dad and get a no tip on my queue. I keep going through tips very quickly. So I'm always trying to do stuff with cue ball, and I like to express myself. I lose myself over a quick 40 minutes with snooker cue. I think that's about it. A couple of pints of Guinness and black. And Bob's your uncle. So peace out. Keep on trucking. Keep supporting boxing. Don't have nightmares. Don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button. That way you get your Porky fix straight to your phone. Big shout out. Welcome Estates in Spain. You want a villa, you got to Welcome Estates. All right. Peace out.